Welcome back to Lenz Movie Reviews. This is episode number 33, and I'm going to do, instead of doing a double feature like I did in the previous episode, I'm going to do a triple feature. I'm going to finish up the Mummy movies, and I really want to get to the crossover film where Frankenstein takes on this other character I'm talking about. I'm talking about 3 movies. I'm talking about the only standalone movie of this one because the rest of the time this guy is just crossover with other characters. Okay? But here's something interesting though. It's all the same actor playing on all 3 of these movies as the monster. Okay? First up, it is The Mummy's Ghost and The Mummy's Curse. These 2 films right here on this disc right here. Now, shoot. Now, The Mummy's Ghost, it is an hour and 1 minute, and same thing in The Mummy's Curse. It's an hour and 1 minute. Now, The Mummy's Ghost picks up right where the last one leaves off, and they go out and try to get the actual body because, well, they killed off all the archaeologists in the previous film, so let's just steal the mummy's. Let's steal the princess's corpse and tried to resurrect her. Nope. Oh, definitely Lon Chaney is back for this film and the following film as well. Okay. Now for this film, I should bring this up because this guy is also in the crossover films as well. Now, the guy who was the priest in this film, his name is Yosef Bey. He's an associate of the high priest. He doesn't wear the high priest outfit at any point in the movie like the other 2 do. Now, this one is played by John Carradine. Now, some people are thinking, why does that name sound so familiar? He's the father of actor David Carradine from Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill films. Yeah, the actor from those 2 films, the guy who plays Bill in Kill Bill, this is his father. And he's only in this movie, and he's in a couple other crossover movies as well. But this one he doesn't play any of the monsters. This one he just plays it's like a priest in a way. And this film, still in New England. It's still in Massachusetts. And pretty much like, it has some similar feels of the original Mummy movie, where he's in the museum and they're trying to get the mummy's corpse. They're trying to get onto the corpse, and for some reason the thing just evaporates. Yeah, it disintegrates, probably because it's been exposed to air for too long. That's my guess. So they have to find her reincarnation, which they do, and they kidnap the woman. And this is the only time this has ever happened, where the main woman actually supposedly dies. Yep. And the mummy gets shot multiple times and collapses in a swamp. And the woman's boyfriend is grief-stricken at it. But it is a pretty decent movie. It's a bit of a step up from the previous film. But Lon Chaney Jr. does a great job playing the guy. And it was explained that I think in this movie that underneath all that wrapping, he has a flask of rum underneath there. He has a flask with a tube going to his mouth because the only way he can play this part is if he's drunk. Yeah, he absolutely hated putting on these bandages. And yet, I didn't hear any complaints about him when he was the monster. Yeah. But he does a really good job of what he does. He just drags his feet around. And in case you're wondering, who does the famous thing where the mummy stretches out his arms like this and just does so like that, or basically does this and just drags. Yeah, that's all Lon Chaney Jr. who does that. So basically, anything associated with the mummy's movements that people tend to think of when they think of the mummy, Lon Chaney Jr. is one who started it. And then something really bizarre happens with the next film. The Mummy's. Unlike in New England, this film apparently jumps ahead 35 years, at least 25 years. Yeah, 25 years. The film was set in 1995, despite the fact the film came out the same exact year as The Mummy's Ghost. And then there's something, and then you want one thing else really strange. Aside from the time jumps they do in these films, excuse me, the how should I put this? The setting is completely changed. Is moved from New England, where he was in the swamp, and in this film, they're in New Orleans. I am not joking. Yeah, and the girl from the previous one, which I think they might have changed the actresses on that one. I'm not really sure. Virginia Christine is one who plays sort of the female mummy in a way. And what they do in the beginning, they kind of give like a exhibition thing of basically they explain it in a particular story about the Prius film, except it's heavily implied that the Prius film took place in New Orleans instead of take place in Massachusetts. I don't know any idea why they did. No, it's a completely different actress who plays from the previous film. Yeah, it's a completely different actress. They just changed her. And how she gets out of the swamp is a bit strange. She just comes out of the swamp, covered all this mud, and then she just dips herself in water and she's pristine clean. And apparently she knows all about ancient Egypt, despite the fact she's a woman from the previous film. She's supposedly the same character from the previous film. And she apparently has memories of ancient Egypt, stuff like that. Apparently there's some archaeologist who's doing some digging in the swamp. Apparently the swamp's also being drained as well. And the final battle takes place in apparently this one place. Apparently it's in a trolley depot for some reason. Yeah, that's the final place it is. And how the mummy is defeated is a bit head scratching. So the guy has survived 3 burnings, being shot multiple times, being mummified alive, and the mummy is defeated by having a building fall on him. Yeah, that's how Karras is defeated in this film. It's a bit anticlimactic in a way, but the way it's gone off is basically someone just fired a gun in the ceiling. Apparently this place is like condemned or something, and bam, that's where kind of the thing ends. But the films are really enjoyable for what they are. It's even though the last film was a bit of a whimper from the previous film, but of the three films that started Lon Chaney Jr. as the Mummy, I would say that the best one for that one is probably The Mummy's Ghost, because that one is pretty interesting. It is. It's a bit of a step up. It's much more interesting to watch, especially John Carradine in the film. So, of these 2 films, I give The Mummy's Curse an 8.5 out of 10. It's still a good movie to watch. As for The Mummy's Ghost, I give that one a 9 out of 10. Great film. Alright, and the last film I'm going to talk about is The Wolfman. And yes, this does star Lon Chaney Jr. And these films came out at least a few years. Like the first one came out in 1941. That was a year before The Mummy came out. Yeah, a year before The Mummy came out. And pretty much this film takes place now. This film has it takes place in 1940. But the bizarre thing is they never explicitly state what century it's in, because in this film, unlike in the follow film, which is a crossover one, they have like cars. It looks like it takes place in present day. While in the sequel, it looks like horse-drawn carriages or something like that. But one thing this film does now. All the makeup for these monsters is done by the late Jack Pierce. He's the makeup artist for doing all these characters. And unlike in the Wolfman, there is no moon, but he sees that he sees a transformation. But somehow, I don't know if it's a continuity error or something. Basically, where when Lon Chaney Jr. is turning into the Wolfman, he takes off his shirt while he's transforming, and then when he becomes the Wolfman, he's got his shirt back on. It's completely unexplained. But he does take off his shoes first, because if you notice, whenever he's the Wolfman, he runs over without his shoes on. But the one thing God knows about this film, there is a ton of fog in this film. Yes, there is fog everywhere at night. As for where this film takes place, let's see. Let me look it up here. I'm just looking up here to see where it, find it here. Here we go. Oh, and the inspector who's in this film, he's been in the Frankenstein films as well. So yeah. And okay, the film takes place in Wales. Okay. And one thing I should also mention though is that Bela Lugosi is in this film, and he plays a character called Bella. Yes, Bella. One thing that you should also know that actors who were in this movie do come back to do the first crossover between these characters, which I will get to in the next episode. But this movie is basically classic for what it is. It's a great film to watch. The film is directed by George Wagner, who's also produced the film. The film itself is only an hour and 20 minutes, but you can get through it pretty quickly. But it's not like I haven't seen the remake that came out 6 years ago. I'm not sure what difference is between two of them, but I've heard that the remake for this film is kind of bad, especially in the part of the editing. The editing is the biggest problem with the film, and I heard that the biggest praise for the remake was the makeup, how the werewolf looks. It's just the editing was terrible when it came to that film. But this is the original film. It's instant classic for what it is. And to see Lon Chaney Jr. wearing this very makeup. Now, he's the only actor who plays this version of the Wolfman in this era. There's been a few other werewolf movies over the years, not many Wolfmans, in a way. And he does kill a couple people in the film. And how he's defeated is by his father, who was played by a really good actor. I've seen this actor before, Clyde Rains. He was in the Phantom Opera movie, where he played the Phantom. This film he plays Sir, I think his name is Sir John Talbot. The Wolfman's real name is Larry Talbot. And the one thing you gotta notice about Lon Chaney Jr., he's a huge guy. I mean, compared to everybody else that appears in the monster movies, he is very beefy. I mean, that's one thing you gotta notice about him. He's like, when he's wearing these clothes, he's really tall. He's taller than most of the actors. I would say of all the monster characters, I mean, yeah, he did wear lead weights when he was the monster, but the guy is really tall. He looks like he's over 6 feet tall. The late Lon Chaney Jr., his grandson's an actor. Where he started sort of a semi-modern day remake of the Wolfman, and where it's in black and white, and it was homaging the classic films. I haven't seen it, so I don't know how good it is. But the Wolfman film, wow, this film is awesome. This is just a Legacy Collection. This is the disc for the Wolfman. Right here. And a lot of the promotion for this film shows the Wolfman running around in fog. And he does that in the film. He does definitely walk around in fog in this film. Most of the film, it's like someone just turned on the fog machine, and someone just left in the fog machine, and that's how the film goes. The film itself is instant classic, so I'm going to give the film a 10 out of 10. It's a great film to watch, and I highly recommend it. Alright, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for next episode, where I'm going to go over the first Monster Mash movies. Yep, first crossover movies are next episode, okay? But until then, I will see you there. Bye.